I eased my battered 1999 Jeep Cherokee into the far corner of the Fort Harlan parking lot, deliberately choosing the spot farthest from the row of spotless Humvees and officer sedans. My fingers stayed wrapped around the steering wheel a beat longer than necessary. 6 years in Phantom Viper had drilled it into me. Scan everything. Commit every detail to memory. The security camera angles. The blind spots behind the admin building. The clusters of cadets laughing near the barrack steps. I drew in a slow breath, grabbed my faded duffel from the passenger seat, and slipped into the part I'd rehearsed for weeks. The August sun slammed into me like a physical blow as I crossed the lot toward admin. My scuffed boots, once top-spec tactical, now deliberately beat to hell, kicked up little puffs of red dust. I kept my shoulders slightly rounded, my gait unremarkable. Just another transfer nobody. Would you look at what the cat dragged in? The voice sliced across the parade ground, loud enough for everyone to hear. I turned slowly. Brock Lawson stood there. Tall. Jaw carved like it belonged on a recruitment poster. Smile sharp, but never reaching his ice blue eyes. His file called him exceptional leadership potential. I saw the tells immediately. Shoulders thrown too far back. Chest puffed to compensate for whatever insecurity he buried deep. I thought this was supposed to be an elite program, Brock continued, flanked by 4 other cadets. Since when does Fort Harlan take in charity cases? The woman beside him, Tara Morgan, smirked, flipping her dark ponytail. Quota filler again. Pathetic. Derek Stone, thick-necked and red-faced, spat on the ground. Another office drone pretending to be a soldier. I absorbed the laughter without a flicker. My hands itched to demonstrate exactly who they were mocking. But that wasn't the mission. Logistics transfer, I said quietly, holding up the folded paperwork. Just need directions to Captain Harlan. Another pencil pusher, Derek muttered, flexing his fists. Brock stepped closer, circling me like livestock at auction. Training here is gonna chew you up and spit you out. Sweetheart, you won't last a week. I dropped my gaze submissively while cataloging everything, Brock's overconfidence hiding sloppy fundamentals. Tara's cruelty fed by deep insecurity. Derek's aggression masking technical weakness. Their records showed top placements, but nothing justified it. First data point locked in. Captain Harlan emerged from the building then, clipboard tucked under one arm, shorter than his photos suggested, with deep crow's feet that creased further when he scowled, which he did the moment he saw me. Blake. Olivia Blake. He barely skimmed the transfer papers before looking past me. Logistics support. Right? Far end of Barrack C. Formation at 0500 sharp. He shoved the papers back without eye contact, then turned to Brock with sudden warmth. Lawson, get your squad prepped for the obstacle assessment. Yes, sir. Brock's grin snapped off the second the captain turned away. Later, alone in the commissary bathroom, I stared at my reflection while cold water ran over my hands. General Harlan Reed's voice echoed from our last classified briefing. 3 recruits dead in 6 months. Blake. They're calling them training accidents, but the numbers don't add up. His weathered face had been stone serious. We need eyes on the inside, someone whose record raises 0 flags. My marriage to Reed stayed buried deep. No favoritism could touch this. I splashed water on my face, dried off, and headed into the mess hall. I'd barely set my tray down when Derek brushed past, accidentally tipping his plate so gravy slopped across my shoulder. Oops, he said to roaring laughter. Guess they don't teach basic coordination and logistics. Tara's voice cut through. Maybe crawl back to civilian life before you humiliate yourself more. I said nothing. I wiped what I could with napkins, kept eating, and made quiet notes in a small encrypted notebook in my pocket. When I glanced up, I caught the gaze of a quiet cadet across the room, Elena Vargas. She wasn't laughing. Instead, she watched me with open curiosity. Next morning I arrived at formation 2 seconds late by my internal count. Blake. Captain Harlan bellowed. 20 extra laps for tardiness. I ran them without complaint, lungs burning, blisters rising on my heels from the ill-fitting boots. I held a deliberately mediocre pace, fast enough not to look incompetent, slow enough not to reveal my real conditioning. That night, once the barracks quieted, I whispered into the micro-recorder hidden in my dog tags. Day 1. Leadership actively fosters bullying as team building. Clear favoritism despite performance gaps. Recommend deeper probe into Captain Harlan and Colonel Andrews' oversight. I tucked it away and stared at the ceiling, the weight of 3 dead recruits pressing on my chest. This was only the beginning. Dawn was still a rumor when I slipped into the admin building the next day, clipboard in hand. The duty NCO barely looked up as I signed the log for logistics filing support. My cover gave perfect access to records. Captain Harlan's habitual sloppiness paid off. He'd left the training incident cabinet unlocked. My fingers moved quickly through manila folders. Each death report concluded, recruit error, yet buried appendices contained contradictory witness statements. Every single one bore Colonel Andrews' bold signature, clearing instructors of blame. The realization hit like cold water down my spine. This wasn't isolated incompetence. It was systemic. Signed off at the top. Colonel Andrews, decorated hero. Friend to generals, had blood on his hands. Footsteps approached. I slid the folders back precisely and grabbed blank requisition forms, just as a clerk entered. Need something? He asked suspiciously. Supply inventory, I answered calmly. Later, in the tactical briefing room, Captain Harlan paced before a topo map while Colonel Andrews observed from the rear, arms crossed. My oversized uniform hung loose on purpose. Standard assault formation needs 3 security points, Harlan explained, then erased one, leaving the flank exposed. But at Fort Harlan we've refined it for greater efficiency. Colonel Andrews nodded approval. Outstanding initiative, Captain. Brock's hand shot up. He strutted forward, erasing another point and adding a vulnerable forward element. More offensive power without sacrificing safety, he claimed confidently. Tara nodded vigorously. Derek smirked. Andrews clapped Brock on the shoulder. This is the thinking that sets our graduates apart. I kept my face blank. The formation matched one that had killed 3 Rangers in Kandahar 2 years earlier, one I'd studied in Phantom Viper. That afternoon's terrain run through the western ridges shimmered under brutal heat. Harlan barked orders. Blake, run point with Morgan. Tara's smile was knife-sharp as we moved out. Halfway through a narrow, rocky section, she deliberately cut into my path, elbow slamming my ribs. I sprawled, ankle twisting hard against jagged stone. Pain lanced up my leg. Watch your step. Logistics, she sneered. Jogging on. Harlan arrived moments later. Eyes cold. On your feet, Blake. No excuses. Finish the course. Each step was knives. I gritted my teeth and limped in after sunset, collapsing onto my bunk. I ignored the pointed silence from the others. After showering, I found a roll of medical wrap under my pillow with a note. Saw what happened. Elena's handwriting. Across the room, she briefly met my eyes before looking away. As I wrapped my swelling ankle that night, the moral weight settled. Report now and maybe prevent tomorrow's injuries. Or keep gathering ironclad proof, so the system itself couldn't shrug it off. The recorder captured my whisper. Day 2 confirmed. Protocols deliberately violate safety with command approval. Andrews isn't just allowing it, he's pushing it. Over the following days, I collected more. On Tuesday, Brock announced an elimination competition. Lowest scorer each day faced public consequences. Harlan and Andrews both approved. My canteen developed a hidden pinhole leak. My compass needle was sabotaged with a magnet. Tara smiled sweetly while handing it back. Oops. Might want to recalibrate before navigation. I documented everything in cipher. Isolation grew. Empty seats circled me at meals. Conversations dropped to whispers, then exploded in laughter when I passed. Instructors noticed and did nothing. The navigation course took us deep into wooded hills. Released at 2-minute intervals. We had to hit 5 checkpoints using only map and compass. I paced myself mid-pack until I spotted Elena veering wrong near checkpoint 3. When the trees hit us, I whispered the declination correction. Her eyes widened, but she adjusted silently. As I moved on, she caught my sleeve. "You're not what you seem." I didn't answer, but something in my chest eased. The weapons range the next afternoon became theater. The entire camp assembled under Colonel Andrews' shaded canopy. Brock announced loudly, $10 says Blake can't hit the broadside of a barn. Harlan handed me the rifle flatly. Standard course. Try not to embarrass yourself. For a moment I considered playing average. Then Reed's encrypted words returned. Trust your judgment. Lives are at stake. 3 dead already. I field-stripped the rifle in 48 seconds of precise muscle memory. Conversations died. Reassembled. I stepped to the line. Breathing pattern locked. Half inhale. Quarter exhale. Hold. Targets became the faces of those responsible for 3 young deaths. Center mass hits. Kneeling, 5 more perfect. Prone, tight heart cluster. Silence when I safed the weapon. Brock's color drained. Derek's mouth hung open. Harlan's expression shifted from dismissal to narrow calculation as he noted something on his clipboard. Whispers rippled through the cadets. Balance had tipped. That evening Elena created a diversion, spilling her tray near instructors. While attention focused there, I photographed the pinned training schedules showing deliberate safety omissions. Later she passed me in the corridor. Nice shooting. Thanks for the assist, I replied, voice carrying new quiet authority. Sometimes it only takes one person to stand up, she said softly. I spent the night reviewing evidence. The upcoming final elimination course description matched a Phantom Viper infiltration drill they'd unwittingly copied. During barracks inspection, Brock accidentally bumped me hard, tearing my shirt seam and exposing the edge of my black coiled Viper tattoo around a dagger-pierced skull. Recognition flashed in his eyes. He knew the classified symbol. I held his gaze steadily. Game changed. The elimination challenge arrived under gathering storm clouds. 20 of us at the starting line. Brock 3 positions away. Still projecting false confidence. Tara's smirk faltered when our eyes met. Harlan's clipboard pressed to his chest, gaze lingering on me. We launched. I paced deliberately just behind leaders, introducing tiny imperfections to stay unremarkable. Cargo nets, mud crawls, walls, I cleared them with controlled efficiency while masking full capability. I finished second, breathing heavily in performed exhaustion. Harlan scribbled notes. Suspicion hardening. Brock, furious at 5th place, demanded a combat ring match immediately. Harlan agreed. Educational. Cadets ringed the sand pit. Elena shot me a silent warning. Brock circled, telegraphing every move. I let his first hook whistle past, sidestepped the second, then used his momentum to sweep his leg and lock a rear choke. 10 seconds of precise pressure, and he went limp. I released immediately, leaving him gasping. Silence was thick. Colonel Andrews stood at the edge, eyes locked on the tattoo, now fully visible on my shoulder. Where did you learn that? Blake. Andrews signaled me to follow him away from the group. Harlan tried to intervene. Andrews waved him off. Later that night, Elena knocked over an equipment rack near the mess, drawing staff away. Gloved and silent, I entered Andrew's office. Filing cabinet yielded falsified safety reports with mismatched signatures. Contractor kickback ledgers. Altered evaluations advancing favorites regardless of merit. 5 years of documents proved the rot spread to other facilities. 3 dead recruits. Dozens injured. Careers built on compliance over competence. I photographed methodically, replaced everything untouched, and slipped out. Next morning the shift was subtle but real. Harlan kept formal distance, but lost his earlier contempt. Brock's swagger dimmed. 3 cadets began copying my posture instead of his. Mail call brought news. General Reed would inspect at 0800. My pulse quickened. Timeline accelerated. A month into the assignment, I entered Andrew's office at 1900 on a summons. Sunlight striped his desk through blinds. Sweat beaded his temples despite AC. Your performance has been noteworthy. He offered an instructor position, pay bump, advancement, for discretion. I scanned the predated promotion without touching it. Discretion regarding what? Sir? He leaned in. Training involves calculated risks. Some recruits aren't suited. Their failures shouldn't tarnish our methods. When I mentioned the 3 deaths, his face drained. Accidents happen, especially to those who don't follow instructions. I placed both palms on his desk and leaned close. I understand my place perfectly. I set the blinking recorder on his desk, then produced my real order signed by Reed and a USB of all evidence. This is a formal investigation into falsified reports, substandard equipment kickbacks, and the deaths of Privates Martinez, Williams, and Chun. Ghost Viper doesn't negotiate with those who kill their own. His eyes widened at the unit name. He lunged for the recorder. I caught his wrist with controlled pressure. Already backed up. Reed arrives in 20 minutes. Prepare accordingly. The parade ground shimmered in heat as cadets formed ranks. Brock and his circle stood rigid, expecting praise. Reed's black SUV arrived precisely on time. Harlan stepped forward to greet him. Reed cut him off. Where is Major Blake? I emerged from admin in full uniform. Phantom Viper insignia visible. True rank displayed. Brock's jaw dropped.
Tara palid.
Derek looked ill. I saluted sharply. Major Olivia Blake reporting. Sir. Reed returned it. For the past month, Major Blake has assessed training practices after 3 fatalities. Effective immediately. Fort Harlan undergoes full restructuring. Captain Harlan on administrative leave, pending investigation. MPs flanked Harlan. Colonel Andrews relieved of command. 2 MPs escorted Andrews out. Face burning with humiliation. Reed announced I would oversee transition. As formations broke, uncertainty rippled. Rumors flew. Brock faced Arctic transfer and conduct review. Tara's family ties might shield her, but documentation followed her. I tossed my duffel into the Jeep, wedding ring back on my finger. Elena approached at attention. At ease. Cadet. Her eyes held questions, but pride too. Weeks later in Reed's office, I presented to the Oversight Committee, voice carrying quiet authority. The negligence was systemic, protecting the guilty while endangering recruits. Senator Keating,
Ex-Marine.
offered grudging respect. At graduation, the parade ground felt transformed. Cadets who once mocked me now stood rigid as I spoke. Leadership isn't power, it's how you use it when no one watches. Integrity is the foundation that holds when eyes are turned away. Elena now wore new leadership insignia. In the officers' lounge, Reed poured bourbon. To seeing beneath the surface. Elena smiled. And to those who teach us how. Back at Phantom Viper HQ, I reviewed new candidate files while watching Andrews escorted to court-martial. The phone rang, another base requesting safety protocol consultation. Change spread outward. Driving away from Fort Harlan for the last time in the same dusty Jeep, I wondered, Does true respect come from revealing power or demonstrating character through adversity? Is it better to be underestimated and prove worth, or valued from the start? The question lingers on the highway like dust in the rear view. But the lives saved and justice served matter more than the answer.